Wowed by the Quran series with Halimah Kurghali. Assalamu alaikum, Halimah here, excited to have you back joining me for episode 9. And today's episode is entitled Allah Has A Hijab Too. Okay, so as I read through Juz 9 today, the following verse stood out for me. And that's the verse in Surah 7, verse 143, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
وَلَمَّا جَاءَ مُوسَى لِمِيقَاتِنَا وَكَلَّمَهُ رَبُّهُ قَالَ رَبِّ أَرِنِي أَنظُرْ إِلَيْكَ قال لن تراني ولكن انظر إلى الجبل فإن استقر مكانه فسوف تراني فلما تجلى ربه للجبل جعله دكا وخر موسى صعقا فلما أفاق قال سبحانك تبت إليك وأنا أول المؤمنين.
And when Moses arrived at our appointed time, and his Lord spoke to him, he said, My Lord, show me yourself, that I may look at you. Allah said, You will not see me, but look at the mountain. If it should remain in place, then you will see me. But when his Lord appeared to the mountain, he rendered it level, and Moses fell unconscious. And when he awoke, he said, Exalted are you. I have repented to you, and I am the first of the believers.
Interestingly, this verse reminds me of the topic of hijab, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so in this beautiful verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He relates to us the momentous moment where He and Musa meet directly and speak directly. And Musa, out of pure curiosity, he asks to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He replies in the negative, telling him that if the nearby mountain was able to remain firm in its place when He revealed something of Himself to it, then and only then he would be able to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Allah did so, the gigantic strong mountain completely crumbled in awe and humility of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's beauty and majesty. But let me ask you this, what exactly did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveal of Himself to the mountain that was just so beautiful and majestic? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He only revealed of Himself His hijab of light. Yes, that's right, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a hijab, and the word hijab in Arabic translates as a barrier or partition. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hijab, His extraordinary hijab, is made of an extraordinary nur, a light. And we know that no man has seen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His true form and essence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us in various places within the Quran as well as through various hadith that it's in the next life, in Jannah, that the successful believers will be honored with the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That every Friday the inhabitants of paradise will gather to see and speak with their Lord. And we're also told that the foremost and the best of believers in Jannah al-Firdaus, which is the highest level of paradise, they'll be given the utmost privilege of seeing and conversing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a daily basis. How amazing is that? And the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He does not choose to reveal Himself except to those who will have proved themselves over an entire lifetime worthy of seeing His beauty, who pledged and devoted their lives and worshipped Him alone and fulfilled their duties, etc., makes me feel honored to wear hijab. This fact portrays how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He considers me to be beautiful and portrays how He believes me to be of value too, so that only those who prove their loyalty to me deserve to observe my beauty. For example, you know that your parents, that your siblings, that your husband, etc., these people to whom we don't need to observe hijab in front of in Islam, they have duties and responsibilities to fulfill towards you and your care. You're not just an object to be viewed and disregarded whenever someone sees fit. So for example, it's a husband who's bound with obligations of providing and caring and loving for you, etc., that has the honor of observing you without your hijab. And this beautiful observation is one of many reasons for the obligation of hijab. And I'll go through a few of them here. So, as many of you know, by observing hijab and not flaunting your beauty, people are also forced to judge you on your interior as opposed to just be biased and judge you on your exterior. So, for example, people really get to know you and appreciate your values through your intellect, your personality, your competence, talent, and ability, etc. So, you're automatically treated and interacted with a minimum degree of personal respect, alhamdulillah. And our hijab also helps to increase us in protection from unwanted attention and harassment and sexual exploitation too. And it also helps us, from being victims of the forever evolving social pressures and expectations that's played in the world of consumerism, alhamdulillah. And our hijab is also a sense of uniform for us, where we can be recognized and identified as slaves of none but one. And this religious affiliation is not something that solely belongs to Islam, but if you actually observe all major world religions and faiths, you will see it practiced amongst Christians, Jews, Hindus and Sikhs, etc., all sharing in the freedom of observing some form of the hijab. Now, I'd like to address a very integral point here in the discussion of hijab, which unfortunately and shockingly I find most Muslims don't actually talk about. And that is that the hijab is actually prescribed in Islam for both men and women alike. Yes, you heard me right, for men and women alike. So what exactly is the hijab then? Is it just really a piece of cloth that you just draw over your head? No, the hijab is actually a simple set of 7 criteria within which Muslims dress themselves according to. So what are these 7 conditions that are shared equally amongst men and women in Islam then? Well, in no particular order, they are the following. So number 1, the condition for it to be slightly loose so that there's no shape of, no showing the shape or the figure of the man or woman's body. Number 2, that it's not see-through, where you can actually see the skin. Number 3, that it doesn't resemble the opposite gender. So men do not dress as women and women dress as men. Number 4, that it does not resemble the unbelievers, meaning that you're not dressing in any religious attire that's affiliated with a different religion. And number 5, that it's not something that draws attention, a lot of attention. So for example, it's very bold and eye-catching and attractive, whether that's in color or style. Number 6, that it's a garment that's not worn out of fame and vanity. And that number 7, that it covers the awrah. And awrah is the parts of the body that is impermissible for a stranger of the opposite gender to look at. And for example, for men, that their awrah is between their navel and their knee. And for the female, it's all parts of the body except for the face and the hands. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He made us beautiful creatures that are attractive to one another. And He wants us to enjoy this attraction, but in the sacred and respectful boundaries of marriage. So the hijab is observed by men and women in public, along with other social etiquettes of lowering the gaze, of having haya and shyness with one another, etc., all in the public sphere in order to prevent social problems that really frequently fragment family structure, such as comparison and discontentment and the doors of cheating and affairs, amongst many others. Now, it's important to note that the hijab, being a set of criteria as opposed to a very specific attire, it demonstrates the universality of Islam, and that's beautiful because Islam, it acknowledges and respects and celebrates that people come from different parts of the world with various different cultures and traditions, and this includes customs and dress code. So Islam, it permits you to wear the clothes that you might be accustomed to or you might like and feel comfortable in, so long as they're respective of these conditions in the public sphere, which I think is absolutely beautiful, as opposed to what has unfortunately become amongst the Muslims of today a point of conflict where sisters are judging and criticizing other sisters for their hijab, etc., which they think only comes in the form of very specific uniform, and if you don't wear it they ostracize you, etc. That's just wrong. Now, I can understand, on the other hand, the frustration that some people do feel nowadays with regards to the hijab, because unfortunately it's increasingly becoming limited to no more than a fashion statement for the modern Muslim women, and that defies the benefits and the purposes we talked about earlier. So for example, the various different hijab trends can make some women feel that the social pressure to fit into that seasoned definition of beautiful, or they can feel judged for wearing their hijab in a certain style that's not fashionable or relevant or make them look pretty, etc. And when it's used as just a fashion accessory, and in order to actually beautify you and draw more attraction, as opposed to what we spoke about earlier about deflecting any potential dangers of attention and from directing everything internally so you're not judged, etc. But the point that we should remember here, both the people who are promoting this hijab as a fashion statement as well as those who oppose this idea, it's important to remember that fashion will always change and it will be forever evolving, whereas the hijab is not. And the statement of the hijab and what it stands for is far more powerful and greater than any design, print, color or style. And that's what makes the hijab truly beautiful. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us towards observing the best of hijab both internally and externally amongst our brothers and sisters so that we can enjoy its various benefits, inshallah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in righteousness so that we are beautified in His eyes and that He honors us with the beautiful reveal from His hijab in Jannatul Firdaus. Ameen. My name is Halimah. You've been checked into Quran Rehab. So until tomorrow, inshallah, take care.